How's it going, Nublets? And welcome to a little showcase of a build I'm making on the Diablo IV Server Slam. Um, Thought I'd just go and run through what I've sort of created with the 20 levels that we've been given. So I decided to play Druid. I really like a sort of a summoning class and just tanky way to go about it. So the build I've made today is more on the tanky side and less on the damage side. It's got basically one big heavy hitter, which is what the build very heavily focuses on, but it also gives the build a lot of weaknesses, which I'm hoping I can address when the full game gets released. At this stage, I haven't seen too many ways to sort of curb those weaknesses, but I'm hoping they'll come because I am enjoying this build quite a bit and I love the survivability part of it. So with the Druid, the main reason I picked it was because of the shapeshifting. I felt there was a lot of variety of builds that can be made with shapeshifting, and I also felt you can really change up entirely how the game is played, especially because I've heard that there will be an item coming out at some point that you can put on that just permanently puts you in werewolf form, for example, or werebear form, and basically then you can just run the full-on werebear werewolf, abilities and just, plow through the game like that if you wanted to, or you can do like mix and match, or you can do a full, sorcerer type thing with the lightning and the earth. Basically, I've gone mix and match with lightning and bear in this one. I've got a few summons. Now that said, there are a few abilities in this build that I'm not completely set on yet. I'll wait to see when the final build is released, and we'll go through all those and I'll decide on that. But let me give you the run through. So I've gone with Storm Strike as my basic attack. Now I know that may seem weird to some people because with the werebear, I'm not sure if a lot of people would be doing this. It seems like the build people the build that kind of feels like getting pushed on you is Fortify. Just looking at the Maul's auto attack and a lot of the bear's abilities grant Fortify or a way to generate Fortify. It feels like they're trying to push Fortify on the bear. I didn't really feel that much going that way. I'm not a fan of Fortify. I don't fully understand Fortify, to be completely honest. And I don't really like the sound of 10% damage reduction after going through all that effort to build 100% Fortify. It just seems very lacking. Um, it could take a 5 minute fight to get to that 10%, and generally the start of the fights are the bigger, crunches. The end of the fight, depending, unless it's a boss, it doesn't really seem that necessary. So what I've done is I've gone Storm Strike, and the reason for this is mainly because of that 25% damage reduction. I mean, who cares about a small 2% Fortify build up that gives me 10% when I can basically have 100% up 25% damage reduction? Because the only time this will really fall off is if you're going a bit heavy on your active skills and you're forgetting to basic, right? So this is just monstrous for me in terms of utility. I almost don't even care about the damage coming out of this ability. Obviously, the damage is pretty decent too, I'm going to be honest. And then you've got the Immobilize, and you've got this crazy vulnerable ability. I mean, great utility, great, basic to just be spamming. The only other basic attack I would be considering would be Claw, because I mean it's quite an attack speed, and it's got nice upgrades in terms of possibly attacking twice, doing poison damage. So Claw could be really good for like a DBS style build. But then you'd probably want to go heavier on the werewolf abilities, which I have not. And it does seem like the werewolf is much more of a glass cannon type way of going about things. I've just decided that's not really where I want to go right now. Who knows? Final build I might, but this is sort of the build I felt I've been enjoying. Now this is my core heavy hitter. Basically, the build is trying to be built around this. It's struggling a little bit, but that's my end goal, and I'm hoping to be able to create that in the final version. Pulverize. This is a monster ability. This is a beautiful creation that I have loved the entire game through, and it's all because of this little sucker over here. The next, your next Pulverize will overpower every 12 seconds you remain healthy. I love this. There's a massive flaw to this, and that's, well, you remain healthy. I've been tweaking and playing around and trying to build this build around how do I stay healthy as much as possible. 80% is quite an insane threshold to keep up all the time, but that's the goal, right? Because as long as I constantly have this overpower second ticking, and as soon as that little sucker hits 12, this ability absolutely obliterates everything in its range. And it's glorious. It is so satisfying. It's beautiful to watch. Alright? So the passives here don't really care about maximum spirit. Pulverize is my only spirit ability. I don't use it as a spam. I very, very rarely have spirit problems. Sometimes I'll use it if I'm really being hoarded, but it's not really for that purpose. What I care about is this sucker here. Once again, who cares about spirit cost? I don't spam this. I love that 15% increased damage. Because that's just going to make this guy obliterate harder, right? It's glorious. This one over here is just an extra. It's, I mean, most of the time the only people that are going to survive Pulverize in its overpower form is like an elite or a boss. It's pretty good to be able to nerf them down a little bit in the process, so that's why that's there. Next section here, not sold on this one. The only real reason I went with this is because I want to keep the sort of theme of the Storm Bear going. You could pretty much use any of these and they'll serve the same purpose. This is the defensive bar. The aim here is just to be defensive to try and stay alive. Now, this could work just as well, if not better, because, like I said, the goal with this is I need to maintain that plus 80% health, which means healing is amazing. And this ability, with level ups, also just increase the amount of healing you receive, so it just becomes even greater for that purpose. Now, once again, like I said, the main reason I've gone with this is to keep that theme going. But the secondary reason I've gone with this is that 70% damage reduction. It is beautiful, right? That can save your ass hardcore in certain boss situations, certain mechanic situations. It's just really, really good. The Fortify, which this provides, once again, I don't particularly really care about Fortify. I mean, I don't mind if it builds up, but I'm not really going for it. I care about this once again. 16% heal over 4 seconds. That's pretty useful if you're trying to maintain 80%. So I'm pretty sure with upgrades, this guy's cooldown goes down. Yep, there you go, next rank is cooldown down. If I can have this up as much as possible, I'm succeeding partially towards maintaining my 80%. That's one way I'm sort of moving towards, thinking towards 70% damage reduction. That's going to help me maintain that as well. I mean, I know it's not saying damage reduction, but that's sort of basically what it is, as long as they're nearby. Now, companions. The wolves can go. They don't particularly bring anything to this build. I just had an open slot that I didn't really know how to fill. Could put the Raven in, I could put another bear ability in, I could put another heal like the wolf in if I wanted to. It'll give me better survivability. The active ability is really just good for sniping out an enemy that's causing you some problems. Who really cares? It's not that big of a deal. Increased damage, who really cares? Fortified, who really cares? Not me, maybe you do. Alright, so wolves, feel free to dump them and put in whatever else you want. Poison Creeper. This is the one exemption I have to my Storm Bear build, and that's because this is crazy. Alright, as soon as you get the skill that increases this stuff by 3 seconds, this thing just becomes monstrous in terms of damage output, and it immobilizes for 3 seconds, right? It is just an amazing ability, down to its bare. Like, I wouldn't replace this for anything. And it does passive damage, just free. The main reason I've gone with Hurricane is because of its future prospects, slowing enemies within an area, and decreasing their damage dealt. Both, in my opinion, amazing for survivability, so that's sort of why I've gone with Hurricane. End goal of this build, like I said, stay over 80%, don't die. I'll win in the end, right? With pulverizing every 12 seconds, as long as I stay over 80%, anything's going to end up dying, right? Now, the one problem as well that I've seen is I do go through potions pretty quickly, partially because I will pop a potion even if I'm only like 60%, and that's because I want to be over that 80% all the time. I've played this whole game in World Level 2, didn't die once, never really had a problem with it. Obviously, World Level 2 is probably not that difficult for most people. It's the max we can play through below level 50 anyway, so it's sort of a breezy go anyway. But like I said, I didn't really have any problems with health, even with popping my potions pretty often, trying to just stay above that 80%, and that's really just because Pulverize is awesome and fun to use. Now, there's obviously some prospects in the future that can really synergize well with this type of build. So one thing that I'll say is transformation abilities. Stuff that give you bonus by transforming between werewolf, werebear, and human, or just constantly just transforming from one form to another, whether that be from bear to wolf or wolf to bear or man or whatever. Those things synergize quite well with this build. Something like this, for example, purely because my main basic attack is a human attack. Whenever I use one of my bear abilities and I use a basic after, I instantly go back to human form. I don't even stay in the bear form at all. So because of that, if I ever feel like, making good use of, for example, quick shift, I could use pulverize, instantly basic attack, back to human, and then pulverize again, for example. And that'll just keep adding 5, 10, 15% to my pulverize, right? Because obviously this can go up to 15% if you put 3 into it. Like, I don't actually know the scaling of it. Maybe you don't get 12 or whatever. But that's just free damage, right? Just because every single time the storm strike, I go back to human. And then because Pulverize is even my main core of this ability, just having a flat 15% increase to that core, build, just makes this even better. So there's quite a few things that can synergize coming up. I'm hoping there'll be some legendary gear that can help me as well. Possibly, if I can get a gear that can reduce this 12 stack down to like 10 or 9 even, that could be amazing. Who knows if they give that to us, because they need to at least maintain some form of balance. And let's be honest, if we're thinking PvP, for example, if you're going into a PvP zone with this pulverize all set up and you just walk in there, slap the sucker, they can't get me below 80 before I can get right up next to them, hopefully. And then who knows, if I get all these stacks going and I hit a pulverize with an overpower, that could almost one-shot someone. Don't take my word for it, but anything's possible, right? So that's sort of what I've gone. Feel free to leave any comments in the comment section about what you felt and how you played, maybe if you played the Druid, and let me know if you think, hey, maybe you'd make some changes to this, some tweaks to this. I'm always open ears. Like I said, the Wolf and the Hurricane, definitely not something I'm set on. The rest I'm sort of set on, but open-minded, especially when it comes to this. The only reason I'm not dropping this is because I'm sort of set on the Bear Storm theme. But once again, most people probably don't care about themes. So yes, hope you guys enjoyed that.